Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. So I had a high performance kid named Ethan last week freaking out about his blades. He's like, this one doesn't feel like that one. I'm like, oh man, let me see that. I'm gonna tell you what happens next. Stay tuned. All right, so I deal with a lot of kids of all levels, of all ages, every day. And this one particular kid named Ethan, I've been working on his rackets, stringing his rackets for probably 6 years now. Great kid, little psycho in the head because he's a tennis player, but great kid. He knows exactly what he wants in terms of his equipment, which are blades, just like these. He knows exactly what he wants in terms of strings, which is confidential. He knows exactly what he wants in terms of tension, which is 52. Okay, so that part is all perfect, right? That's kind of all you can ask for a kid, right? You know the racket you want, you know the string you want, you know the tension you want. But the one thing that bugs him all the time is he's always doing this. This one doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. He kept going like this. It doesn't feel like this one. He goes, this one, it's off. I can't play with this one. So I'm like, what is going on here? So he literally kind of took this one and said, I can't play with this one. It doesn't feel right. The balance is off. It's too top heavy. So I grabbed it and I went like this. And then I was like, give me your other one. So I took the other one and I went like this. I was like, yeah, it's slightly off a bit. It's slightly off a bit. So I started asking questions. I was like, he likes to tinker a little bit. So I said, did you put lead under the grip? Did you take the head guard off and put some lead under the head guard? He's like, no, I didn't do anything. He likes to change his own grips. Like, I don't change his grips. So I was like, there's something that feels a little different about his grips. So he usually does this to his grips. He usually takes the turn attack and wraps it, like, not thinly but thickly on the thing. So as you can see by the overlap, he overlaps it a lot. So because he's wanting to use up all the grip to the top. So he doesn't have a scissor, obviously. He just tapes the top, right? But for some reason, the one that he says is off looked like this. It looked like it was professionally done, but not by me. So, because it looked like it got trimmed. Where's my trimming? Okay. And it looked like that much of it was off. So there was a slight difference in the grip. But can that change anything? Well, here's the thing. Check out the overlap on that. Check out the overlap on that. It's slight. It's very slight. But does it change anything? So I said, let me take this racket and grip it like you usually do. Or better yet, you grip your racket like you usually do. So I said, so I literally just took it off and I was like, here, get another grip and redo it. He went out, he played for an hour, he came back and he's like, that was it. It was the way I gripped it. So when you overlap less, this is gonna feel thinner. When this feels thinner, it alters the balance a bit. It makes it a little head heavier. When you use up the whole grip and you overlap more, it's thicker, or it feels thicker, and it throws the weight a little differently, and it's not as head heavy. Now, is that psychological? Is that real? Or is that feel? Well, I'm gonna test that right now, because that's why I have these two rackets here. We're gonna do the balance board first, and then we're gonna hit the scale, and then we're gonna compare numbers. So just so that these two are blades 1619s. They're strung a little different, but they should come out the same. I mean, well, given Wilson's quality control, we'll see what happens, okay? So first, we're gonna try the one that's overlapped less. Let's check the balance. Right there. 322 on the balance, overlap less. All right, so let's check the one that we used the whole grip, and overlapped more. The heck? 331. Wow. There must be some quality control issues right there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do apples to apples. So I'm going to deviate here. I'm going to take specs out of this one with it overlapped less, and then I'm going to take the grip off and then re-grip overlap more, just so, because I can't control for the differences in the racket itself. So let's see if there's a difference there. Okay, so I'm going to just take specs on this and then come back and do specs again. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm going to now take it to the scale and get the rest of the numbers for that particular racket. And then I'm going to come back, re-grip it like how he re-grips it, with more coverage using the whole grip, and then take the measurements again. Okay, so let's go to the scale. At the scale, turned it on already, putting the racket on. 327 on the dot. Swing weight. $324. So now I'm going to put the grip on like how Ethan does it, and then rerun the numbers. Okay, so I'm going to put it on just like how Ethan puts it on. He overlaps a lot down here, kind of like that, because he's trying to use up the whole thing when he gets to the top. So it's nice and thick, nice and thicker. So when he gets up to the top, it's kind of like that. Obviously, he doesn't have a scissor, or doesn't think he needs to cut it, so he just kind of tapes it like this. Okay, So that definitely feels thicker. By the way, this isn't his racket. I'm just testing it out to see if there is a difference in the numbers. There's definitely a feel in our hands though. So let's bring the balance board back out and see if there's a difference in the balance. Okay. Excuse me for a second, guys. Trying to get the numbers right here, making sure we're good. Should be right about there. Fall this way. So it's right about there. 320, 321 looks like. All right, let's get the rest of these numbers. I'll see you back at the scale. Scale's already on. Because we kept a little more material on. That's strange. I would think this would be more heavier. I guess there's not enough to make it heavier. That's weird. Okay. 27.5. 0.5 heavier. 327.5, excuse me. Let's see what the balance swing weighted is. That part didn't change. 324. All right, let's analyze this for Ethan. So, is Ethan oversensitive, or is he over analyzing? I think there is a difference for those who are ultra sensitive about balance here. There is a difference. This actually kind of shows it because I left a little bit of material. So overlap more, overlap less. So overlap less means I cut a little bit of the overgrip off. I left the whole overgrip on. So that really only weighs 0.5 grams there. But when you overlap more, it alters the balance a little bit. It went a little more head lighter, like literally just one, right? But that's definitely noticeable, but it didn't alter the swing weight here. So if you think about it, we made this a little thicker just because he overlapped it more. Therefore, you got a bigger grip here too, and the head's gonna feel lighter. When it's smaller, it's gonna feel heavier up here. So my boy Ethan's not crazy. There is a difference in feel. So if you ever put a grip on, I mean, we all put it on in our own ways. Most of us, from my experience, have people like me putting it on. I put it on pretty consistently the same way every time. I always cut a bit of it off. But if you decide to put it on yourself and you kind of put it on differently every time, you could be throwing your balance off a bit on the racket, because if it's thicker, it's definitely going to be head lighter. If it's thinner, it's going to be a little head heavier. Okay, so if you're ultra sensitive about that stuff, make sure you put the overgrip on consistently. Like consistently. Start in the same space, overlap about the same amount, hopefully end at the same space, and either decide to cut the excess or leave the excess on, not to throw the racket off a bit. Okay, so that's one of the parts that you can control on your own racket, what the constant balance, overall weight could be. Okay, Ethan, we figured it out. All right, guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.